Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, and the show is also available on YouTube, aka Disability Allies. And, you know, as usual, you can actually check out the podcast on your favorite app. It's on Spotify. You can do a Google search. You can do so many ways of getting the show on your Apple, on Android, yeah, you name it. It's on their stores. So check it out, download it, and keep up to date on your favorite apps and on all the podcasts, Breaking with Brent segments, traveling segments, coffee time, you name it, it's all there. And subscribe. Please subscribe to Neil Matheson's YouTube channel to stay up to date on all the current content. And today we have our round four of roundtable, round and round we go. And so today we have a special segment that I'm going to be making a little announcement before we start. A very strong advocate in British Columbia had contacted me a few days ago, just as an update. So we're going to be distributing out pink shirts. She's been well known in the disability community for advocating for people with disabilities. She's a foster mom. She advocates for her children, and she wants the system to recognize people with disabilities, not just children, but adults with disabilities also. So just stay tuned on upcoming stuff with that. She just kind of.
Is that for the pink unicorns? Because I noticed you have a friend behind you on the couch there.
Yeah. You know, there's lots of that going on, and that's kind of what the theme's about too. Yeah. Is the pink unicorn here is it spreads the awareness around. One pink unicorn for here, one for there, and basically that's what the lady is focusing on too. It's bringing the awareness to what we're talking about now, all the unaffordabilities in British Columbia and across Canada. She wants to spread the awareness coming up soon all around BC, and I think eventually across the country, and unifying all the inequalities together. She really was a very strong advocate way back when, before the BC NDP formed government. She was fighting about the bus passes, bus pass clawback, and played the shell game back and forth. And as you would know, Neil and MJ, that in BC we had a former minister for social development and poverty reduction, Michelle Stillwell,
and she just got an award just a couple of days ago or something.
And I think I had sent her the information about that, and of course Sonia goes, "Oh no, now look what you did, Brent! You woke her up." That was me. I sent it to her. She says, then boom, she just wouldn't leave me alone on Messenger. We're back and forth. So she's going to get some letterheads done. She's going to get these done up. She's going to send them to me, and for me to look at getting a production of these shirts done. There's still sticky stuff that goes on the shirts, and see if I can find a company that's going to do that, because it's saying about the BC United Party. Of course, the BC Liberal Party. She said nothing's changed. It's the name, like nothing to see here, folks. She said so. And I'm not here to basically point fingers at political parties. It's about the policy on which government is going to want to recognize the inequalities. Legislated poverty doesn't need to exist in BC or anywhere in Canada. So let's put an end to that. But that was my announcement. So stay tuned for that. So I just want to welcome everybody on the roundtable today. I'm going to start with you, Alan. what's the update on your own personal situation? I understand you had a real mishap.
Yeah,
bit there.
bit of a slip and fall and a disagreement with a certain kind of food. It happens. I rolled the dice and I came up with snake eyes, I guess, when it comes to I went to one of these places where you can eat in, but it's really more of a takeout place. They call them like a shawana. Is that the right word for them? Shawana or something. They have them all over Canada, but they sell like curries and stuff. And I just got a bad batch, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, they say that hospital food sometimes is not as good either, right?
I don't know. I think I would have taken a hamburger at Burger King after being left for about 12 hours under the heat lamp over that chicken.
Have a Whopper instead of some curry chicken that really set for
Shame on me for trusting chicken and rice. Yeah, that'll be healthy.
If Ramsey would have been around, he would have been really upset about that situation.
Yeah.
This is why if the chicken tastes fishy, don't eat it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the problem with chicken nowadays is, I mean, I've gotten sick on bad chicken too, and you can tell the chicken's bad right away because the oil.
Bad chicken, bad.
They have it like on old oil that might have been around for like a couple of days or something, and they just refry it in like old oil, and it's like right away you can tell it's just like this chicken. You
want to go to the farm. Look at that chicken. Bad chicken. Bad. Go to your room.
This is where all this industry farming has taken us away from being able to go to the little meat market or the little butcher's shop and go and get the freshly cut half of chicken or go and get the chicken legs or the drumsticks or whatever you want that's freshly cut within the past 3 days, right? And it will always be no less than 3 days old before they freeze it. They don't go past 3 days in most places. I mean, we have a couple local butchers where I'm at, and they work with the Hutterites to go get Hutterite chickens. And I got a Hutterite chicken. My mom bought a Hutterite chicken for like $50, okay? For $50, I think it was. And the chicken was like huge. It was almost like the size of a small turkey that you get at the grocery store. And I'm like, that's a chicken, right? That is a chicken. But the stuff that we get from this industrial farming is part of the problem when it comes to, with society. They've made good quality food so expensive that it's easier to go and buy this junk food and just eat that and be now malnourished instead of being able to get a good meal. And for those of us that are on disability, they make that junk seem more in a price range to buy, like Ichiban soup, because it's like 89 cents or 59 cents, whatever it is, right? This crap and this garbage, right? Instead of being able to go to the outside aisles where all the real food is. The outside aisles is where good food is and all the crap's in the inside. But on disability, they've made it so that the inside aisles is all we can afford.
I stay away from the only chicken fingers I buy are the box of Jane's Pub chicken fingers. Because they it is actually chicken. It's the only apart from that and Costco, it was the only chicken fingers my roommate Mark would buy, and he was really picky about kind of chicken fingers, chicken wings, or anything. So he said you're safe with the Jane stuff because it's actually chicken. It is breaded, but if you're gonna throw it in the air fryer or whatever, or in the oven, at least you're getting chicken. So I won't. I bought a box of cheap hamburgers, like the big box of 16 or whatever. They weren't that great. Like they were okay in the air fryer, but they didn't taste. So this time around, I went and bought a box of Angus hamburgers. It was only $1.50 more, and at least it tasted like a burger. So worst case scenario, I've got the selection bottom end burgers I can throw through my air fryer, but
Right.
really I don't buy the craft dinner. I would rather
No,
buy
you don't buy KD? No? Oh,
no, I would rather
oh,
buy a can
right.
of the Campbell stew
Right. Yeah.
and heat it up and have get a couple buns from the bakery and just kind of have it like a stew,
Yeah.
then buy hot dogs and
Yeah.
then craft dinner. So I really try, even though I'm not working right now, which I'm trying to change. I'm putting resumes out everywhere again, but I think living with my old roommates made me a little bit pickier about my eyes open a little bit more to what to touch and what not to touch. So I'm really picky about
As long as you don't touch this.
yeah.
Do you remember
Is that-
do you remember that I'm gonna date myself again, but you remember that movie Meatballs?
Oh, yeah.
With
John Candy?
no, it wasn't. Was it John Candy that Meatballs
Or is it Belushi?
No, it wasn't Belushi either. It was
I'm Googling.
Are we talking about the space knockoff of Star Wars?
no, it was that
Okay,
summer
no.
camp one
Okay.
with Bill Murray.
Oh, right,
Bill,
right.
Bill Murray was the summer camp counselor, and he comes on the PA system. And he says, "And for lunch today, we have some kind of meat." And it's like,
Oh,
it's like,
yes.
Oh,
and that's
man.
kind of what it is. Like you're taking your life in
But-
your hands. Sometimes is what you're eating.
Well,
nowadays.
yeah.
I'm really picky
and
about
that's why
pizza,
with
too.
like instead of like a pink unicorn, it's like saying equal it out so everybody gets it. Rather than well, you can have it because you can't afford this, you can't afford that. Equal it out. Otherwise,
Well-
we'll have to equal out all these pink unicorns
Well,
around it.
before we launched the show, I just launched into a little tirade because again, I just recently submitted another human rights complaint, and the only reason I do that is, I mean, it's been 2 years since the last time I filed, and they make you feel stupid for even trying to file. They're like, Neil, why are you even bothering? It's like, you're so stupid. Like, like this isn't discrimination. It's only unfair. It's just unfair, Neil. It's not discrimination, and it's like everybody's gaslighting you. It's like the Human Rights Tribunal, they gaslight you, and the provincial government, they gaslight you. It's like, it's your fault that your wife died. If your wife didn't die, we would be willing to support you with 100% of the check. But because your wife died and it's your fault, we have to give you a clawback.
Right.
Congratulations. And it's totally gaslighting. It's like, if it wasn't your fault, we could be supporting you fully with 100% of the check, but because it's your fault that your wife died, we're going to claw your check back.
Well, right, and this is where, I agree with you, Neil. I mean, this is where when when I'm talking to Tom about GLBI and I'm talking about UBI, the idea is getting rid of that type of nonsense, right? That type of stupidity that exists in the system. And it's like, I mean, I'm one of these people, I believe in the whole take it or leave it option. If here's the money, take it or leave it. If you don't want it, don't take it. If you want it, take it. Fine and dandy, right? And to me, it makes it easier when there's no nonsense involved. Sure, you can go and become part-time employed or full-time employed while taking it, right? If you need the extra money,
I like that idea, and I'll add a caveat to it. I would like to see it in almost in chunks. Like, do you need it for 3 months? Do you need it for 6 months? Do you need it for a year? You have no obligation to them, but you give them an idea of what maybe your pattern is, so that they have a.
I'm looking at the idea, Alun, of an on-off switch where you have the power to turn it on or turn it off, right? Where there's no obligation. If you decide, okay, geez, I won the lottery, I don't need this money anymore. right?
Yeah.
Right? Or I've got a full-time job and I'm now making $120,000. I don't need this money. Unlikely for a lot of us,
So you're talking like one of those little slider tabs that you see on an app on your phone where you can just
yes,
turn
basically on off, right? That's it. That's it.
right
That's all,
through your CRA. So you
edit.
log into your CRA and
on
it,
off. That's it. Right? Very simple. No
it
more
comes
having it. Exactly. Simplification is truly the answer.
It's like when you need the income, it's there. Otherwise, if you don't need it, then it's not there. It's like when.
But you know what the pink unicorn behind your head says.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly.
Sorry,
it.
Dave. Sorry, Dave. I cannot do that.
Sorry, if it's not employment, if it's not from employment income, we won't claw it up. But if it's if you made money and it's not from employment, we're going to claw this off because that's what the pink unicorn allows us to do.
Well, if I win 60 mil, I'm going to be declaring it as an employment opportunity because I was doing this as a form of employment, buying tickets. It wasn't gambling. It was employment. It's my job. You know?
Yeah.
You want to play, it's like, you want to play, this is where to me, it's like they create these stupid loopholes and these stupid fences you got to jump over and these hurdles that get in the way. And this is where to me, justifying abusing people, right? That's where I have really come to realize our society finds nuanced ways to justify abusing people for money or something else, right? We find a way to abuse.
The abuse is not discrimination.
No, right.
Because the policy in the government, the way they look at it is it's justified. It's equity in the system. It's fairness and equity, isn't that?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't do it for you, we'll have to do it for
It's equally
everybody.
distributed abuse. So therefore, it's not discrimination.
Right, we're not discriminating against you. We're discriminating against everyone that's disabled equally, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It reminds me of the Monty Python episode, The Argument. And he goes in and he says, is this an argument or is this for 5 minutes of the whole course?
Yeah. Dan, what is your view about equity and fairness in the system? I mean, we got Pink Unicorn here that says, well, if it is not equal, then it's fair.
I don't know. Maybe Dan's fallen asleep.
Oh.
Oh no, Dan's here. Dan
okay.
Had to have a cigarette. I didn't hear you calling.
Okay.
Oh, Dan. It's all good, Dan. It's all good.
Was there a question?
Yeah, like it's saying that if it's not from employment income, then we can claw it off you because it's classified as not income earned, not earned income. Meanwhile, it can be. If a person goes and collects pop bottles, okay, for instance, I'll give you an example. Very simple. Someone goes out and drops off a whole shitload of pop bottles and said, there you go. And there's like $1,000 worth of pop bottles. I mean, you're talking everybody in the community drops some off. You go and you go and take them to a bottle depot. The government will say, did you declare that as income? Yep. Okay, well, you didn't earn it from employment, so we're going to claw that off you. But the Pink Unicorn here says, but it's fine because we're actually making it justified in the system here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's self-employment.
Yeah.
It's self-employment because you're taking initiative to go and generate income for yourself through either a skill or ability. And if walking around and picking up cans, right, that's a skill and ability that a lot of people don't do. They'll see the can and they'll walk by, right? So that takes skill to decide, I'm going to pick it up and do something about it, right? So that's skill and ability. So therefore, it should be considered as self-employment in a way, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like the way they justify these things to go and find reasons to claw back your money or find reasons to go and put you out for some reason is just absolutely astounding. And this is why
there was an old neighbor of mine actually went and did that and actually had collected all these bottles and actually wrote it down on their form and said other income. And they said pop bottles. And they clawed it off because they said it wasn't from employment. I thought, oh my God. I said, that is beyond terrible. So that's why I guess the question I had for you, Dan, was what's your view on that? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot about it, but I mean, really?
Well,
Pop bottles?
Yeah, here in Ontario, I think last check, I think it was you're allowed to make $1,000 now. They upped it a little while ago. I haven't been on ODSP since 2019, so I don't. But I'm pretty sure it's $1,000. But I mean, someone in like Neil's situation or other situations that follow up like that, to take tax money is your family member died, so we're gonna take more from you. And
Yeah.
oh, by the way, if you get remarried again and that person is on ODSP, we're going to take that from you too. Like,
Yeah.
where do you win, right? Where is it given? You got to have some give and take, right? I think they got to get together, and I've said it from the beginning, and I'll say it again. Sorry about the mask. I got workers in here, but like you need the lived experience at the table. I agree with what MJ says. Like, take it or leave it, right? You're either going to need to, like, for example, if they were offering it right now, I would take it right now because I've been put in a predicament, employment wise, just for the time being, that where I would need it if the option was there. But down the road, if I was working and stuff, I would weigh the pros and cons and what it's for, what I'm using it for. But to claw back, in that situation, it's just dead wrong. Pardon the expression.
Well, this is where when in the idea of the take it or leave it idea, there's no restrictions on, like, for example, with ODSP, with BC and welfare, if I get married or have a girlfriend that earns more money than the allowable amount, it gets clawed back, and all of a sudden I become a dependent. That to me should be considered criminal, because what you're doing is you're just going and torturing the disabled person. So for me, what I look at this from the point of view is an idea of, if we just say take it or leave it, and the rest of it just disappears and the nonsense disappears, then yes, eventually, for some particular reason, everything will work itself out. The employees in the provincial government will go away because no one's going to use them. Let's be honest. I mean, I'm on disability. If they said $4,000 a month at the federal level and you had to go and drop your provincial money, I would say yes, please, as long as there's zero restrictions, right? I would tell the provincial government to go take a flying leap and go, you're out. Right.
Just so we don't, magically just change policies just because, right? I mean,
exactly. We don't want, to me, I look at this as, we don't need to be sitting here changing policies at every turn to go and constantly, how should I phrase this? I'm trying to not curse as much, to basically mess with people's lives, to screw with them, to like you don't feel like you're at the short end of the stick getting screwed over by the government. I mean, to me, the biggest problem we have is we have a system that's designed to go and keep people at a certain level, and it's not designed to go and raise people up. I mean, even people like, that's the biggest problem we have in society. It's designed to keep people down,
press them down.
Yes.
Well, and this is why we need spots like this too, right? Like, just as a quick example for you, sorry to interject there, but we have something called question period here in the Ontario Legislature, right? And that's, just as it sounds, right? So we hear them questioning this morning, and Merritt Stiles, the leader of the provincial NDP, simply straight up asked Doug Ford, but it was Paul Calandra because Ford wasn't there. How can anybody trust your government, right? Calandra, like, we need to lived experience at the table, because Calandra went on to say, and I quote, will cooperate as the RCMP looks at this plan. Buddy, newsflash, they're not looking at a plan. They're not reviewing a plan. You're under a criminal investigation. So we need the truth to come to the table so that people can form their decisions based upon the knowledge they get from folks like us that actually know, and I'll pick up the swearing for MJ, what the fuck we're talking about, right? As opposed to these people claiming to be homeless advocates, basic income advocates, and they've never seen a homeless shelter or a government check in their life.
Right. I want to, one of the things, I'm going to read this out because it's directly from a Supreme Court case from 1973, and it's about how they're not accountable. And basically it says, verbatim, it is the essence of our parliamentary system of government that our elected representatives should be able to perform their duties courageously and resolutely in what they consider to be in the best interest of Canada, free from any worry of being called to account anywhere except in Parliament. Now, that's from the Roman case from 1973. Now, this was used against Wilton Littlechild when he promised to go and vote against the GST. He didn't. Basically, this shows us how zero accountable our current governing system is that we currently have in this country. And that's the bigger picture of why people with disability always end up getting the shaft, is because there's no way to hold them to account for continually torturing and abusing disabled people, right? I mean, this paltry amount is abuse, and the Constitution says it's abuse. But the problem is nobody wants to, in the legal community, will dare pick up this torch and say, hey, this has to stop, right? And even the advocates for UBI are not going and saying this is torture and abuse and this has to stop, right? So that's where I'm focusing my point and position on, is when you abuse your citizens, you're no better than a homicidal maniac that's a dictator going and just outright killing them, because this is just a slow genocide in a way against people that can't get ahead, and they're not allowed to get ahead, right? Because when you hear of people that are on disability in this country choosing to do MAID because their government will not give them the support they need to live, there is something seriously wrong with the governing system. There is something seriously wrong.
Well, I'm actually glad you mentioned the word genocide and MAID, actually, because I'm going to take a little bit of a leap, but it's not much of a leap, really, because I was thinking in my head, even when I was writing the complaint again, is how they say it's not discrimination, Neil. Well, in reality, like, there's so much in government policy it's the 10% solution, right? Because we've talked before about the subsidized rents versus market rents, and that's like here in BC. It's basically they offer like 10% subsidies, or I should say like subsidies to 10% of the PWD population, and 90%. Oh, it's like screw you, right? So it's you like get to pay more rent, somebody could say, like, the tribunal chair could say, well, it's not discrimination, it's just unfair. But if we were going to take the extreme example of MJ and say, well, let's say if they said, well, 10% we're going to look after, and the other 90% get made, is that just unfair, or is that more discrimination now?
See, my question is,
I know it's an extreme example, but you're basically saying we're only going to support 10, and the other 90% can go jump off a cliff.
Sideways here.
Yeah, and that, again, that kind of goes, when I mention about RGI, but when I say RGI, and I know Dan's right on board on this one too, is RGI should be for everybody, but right now the governments across Canada have it based on household income. They got to change that. It needs to be based on the person, individual person, autonomy. On their rent geared to income based on that individual person, not household. Because I'll use it as an example. I lived in Langley, and I went to a rec center to register to go, just keep fit and run around a track. They got a track inside there. They got a library there. They got a fitness center there. And so the problem is that it was based on household income. Oh, well, your household income is too much. So, one of you can have a pass, but the other one, I'm sorry. Sorry. The government gave me an increase. Just 1 second. So it was like, oh, well, the government gave me an increase, so it's my fault that I can't use it because they gave me an increase. I said it should be based on the individual. They agreed with me. So they said, you know what, we can override it. The provincial government needs to change legislation within the cities to increase that threshold. I go, no. They need to get rid of the ceiling, make it individual, so that I want to go. It doesn't matter how much money I got. I should be able to go get that pass. So they did. Okay, proved. Done. Stand here, take a picture. There you go.
One of the things I noticed, I got a letter from the city of Kingston. When I moved here, you have to have an address in Kingston to do it. And I applied right away with the help of a lady from the Kingston Independent Living Program for the Kingston Housing Prevention, Homeless Prevention Program, which is, I think it's about I think it knocks off about 70% of your rent. So if you pay $1,200, it would bring you down to about $700. But I got a letter confirming I was on the waiting list, but I would be looking at 7 to 8 years. And I called them and I said, well, what is this? I was told that this would be implemented within a month. And then they said, I would love to implement this, but we have no funding right now because the province isn't downloaded any. All rainy day fund is dry, and this is what's happening to the cities because a lot of these RGI rent to gear income are so all of it's being downloaded to the shoulders of the municipalities, from what I understand. So the provinces can go, well, it's not our fault. The cities aren't giving out subsidies, but yes, it is, because your hand isn't in the game, and the feds are just as bad because they're not directly doing anything either. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see the federal saying to the provinces, we will add to the municipalities X amount percentage, but on the basis that we see you doing that. So we'll put 50% of that transfer directly to the municipalities for social housing, but you've got to do the 50%. And if we don't see your 50% on the table, we will pull out. I mean, still the little guy's gonna get hurt, but it puts pressure on the Doug Fords of this world to actually step up.
There's a lot of the similar things going on in British Columbia and Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, everywhere across the country where there was numerous places I applied before I moved to Victoria. Corporate landlords where you could be making like $4,500 or $5,000 to rent at the place. Meanwhile, the place was built way back in like 1970s. Like, are you kidding me? Meanwhile, I'm renting from a corporate landlord who said, "Yeah, no problem, as long as you pay your rent, market rent." And I said, "Well, and I was looking at the RGI at the time, so I contacted the government because they had this rent bank program at the time. Now it's like they kind of quietly stepped it backwards. It's like nothing to see here, folks. So I said, well, how do I get into to have 30% of my income go to rent? Well, where are you? Are you in BC housing? I go, no, I live in market housing. I'm a corporate landlord. Okay, well, you need to be homeless in it first before we can get you on a list. Excuse me, I'm not homeless, but if I keep living in this living condition, that could happen. So I'm trying to better my life to get into a better environment.
Well, that's it, Brent. The subsidy I was applying for was supposed to preempt any homeless activity from happening. And they were saying, well, we just don't have the money to give anybody. Like, our bucket is empty.
Yeah.
See, the problem I have with all their excuses, and I just look at this all as excuses, is the truth is we all know that the government has to go and justify its existence.
Yeah.
So they have to justify their expenses to go and keep all these people employed. And the problem is if it's getting to this point where people are starting to realize that there's no more justification for this type of abuse. And there's no more justification for any of this nonsense to exist. We could be building, we could solve the housing problem within 120 days. We could go and open up the entire market across this nation by going and closing, like I was saying just before the show, single family homes, condos, and mobile homes from corporate and foreign ownership. Do those two things, right? Do those two things, and that's it. You would see the entire market open up, and you'd see people buying houses. To me, fine, if a corporation wants to own an apartment building, own an apartment building, but stop going and allowing these corporations to go and start buying up single family homes, then renting them out for obscene amounts of money, right? And this is where and half of these homes are are for either long-term rentals, or they're moving them over to the short-term rentals, which goes back into what you were talking about before the show as well, Brent, with regards to British Columbia cracking down on short-term rentals. And that's the other part of the problem that has created the homeless issue.
Yeah, and just that leads into so many people that need affordable housing, right? And that's across the board, across the whole nation. When I was going through that scenario that I was just explaining a few minutes ago was, and like the response I got on the phone was, "Well, I'm sorry for the inconvenience," and that was the word I got, the inconvenience that you got to pay.
Homelessness is an inconvenience?
I said, oh, so if I'm homeless, I guess that'd be more of an inconvenience? Well, you could go on a waiting list. I go, what, over 10 years, or was it 20 years? Well, yeah, it used to be for like a health reasons, but it's not anymore. It's all families, single mothers, single fathers with the children. They take priority. Oh my gosh! I said, so I can't just get into that housing so that I can have it cheaper. No, I said, better yet, why don't you give me that subsidy in the current housing I'm in? What?
Well, yeah. Single fathers and widowers don't get priority because obviously I didn't get it.
Right, exactly.
So I don't believe that.
See, the problem is you're not identifying as a single mother.
Yeah, and the other thing.
We got the dress there.
The other thing I think doesn't get enough airplay is
time to go Monty Python.
Yeah, Ministry of Silly Walks. Maybe that's what they should call the social development ministry, is the Ministry of Silly Walks.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
What I was gonna say though that doesn't get enough airplay is I don't believe that when the government says we don't have enough money either, because it's all about just money changing pots or changing hands. I mean, obviously they have enough money because we've all said before, poverty costs money. So the province is wasting maybe $3 to $4 billion a year in poverty, and it's built into the crime budgets. It's built into our health budgets.
Yeah.
Imagine if they removed that from the health budgets and the crime budgets, because maybe if it didn't exist, and then took that $3 or $4 billion and then put it back and actually just gave people money, then all of a sudden you don't have the poverty problem anymore, and you don't have like inflated budgets of the crime and the health.
Yeah, it doesn't. I see that. It said they don't have any money to hand out right now. Yeah, exactly. See, the problem is we all, let's be honest, folks. Let's be honest. Money is make believe. This is fantasy. We've all accepted it as reality.
Like Pink Unicorn.
Exactly. See, and this is the system that they designed. It's a design system designed in lack. Oh, there's not enough of this. There's not enough of that. There's not enough of this. When in truth there's an abundant amount of resources for us to access on this planet. There's an abundant amount of things we can do to solve problems. It's just we have governments that have designed themselves on the basis of what we can't do. And we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't solve this problem, we can't solve that problem. But yet you're the ones that have created the problems, right? So how about you get yourselves out of the way and exfiltrate yourself from trying to administrate too many things you don't need to administrate, and just give us the money, say $4,000 a month, take it or leave it, and just walk away, right? The simplification would solve the problems. And the problem we have is like I said earlier, is the government has to justify their existence, right? So,
yeah, because I mean, you look at some of the MLAs who hired a whole bunch of VPs, in their own ministries, right? I mean, look at BC Ferries, $500 million. There you go. Yeah,
Well, exactly.
You and I can share. They call that an FTE. Full-time employee. You and I could share a 0.5, and then you and I could get like a $250,000 each.
Well, it could go at 0.25
with a 0.5 FTE.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is where when you have this type of idiocy in government, where nobody is taking oversight, nobody's taking accountability, and their excuse of, oh, we'll hold ourselves accountable. But yet, this is where the bigger problem lies, in the fundamental problem of where all of these things exist. It's the big diamond of, of nonsense. And we're sitting here at the bottom looking up going, that's a big mountain to climb. When really the mountain is the emperor has no clothes, right?
It's a mountain of shit.
Exactly.
It's a mountain of shit.
Exactly.
We can't climb the mountain of shit. It's too big. I just wanted to say that Dan, the reason that Dan is not here anymore is he is having a problem with his phone. He's in chat right now, but he had problems with his phone, so he has to opt out of the conversation. But he is in chat.
Yeah, no problem, Dan. And next time around, Dan, when we have our next roundtable, it'll be all good. We'll get you up and going, and everyone watching today wondering where some of our other roundtable guests that we have on our panel. Tom is off today due to a family emergency that happened, and Cassandra is going through a housing crisis. She explained on the show last time when she was on, and she didn't know when she'd be on or where that would be. She lost her housing, and I feel really sad because it doesn't have to be that way. Government needs to step up, make sure citizens have housing, proper housing they can afford. It's all the bureaucratic red tape. It needs to be cut. Like, keep people housed. And that's, again, like why I advocate so much about housing also. Because it's like when I say that, I mean, like, people that are housed right now, to make it affordable for the current tenants, right? So that, because the cost of living is going so high, and the government says, well, we're going to build more housing. And that's going to alleviate the problem. We're going to crack down on short-term rentals. That's just a drop on the iceberg in the pond, right? Because the overall picture is you bring in, and I don't blame the provincial governments on all this, okay? It's federal governments allowed mass immigration to come into the country. And there's nothing wrong with it, but you got to make sure you've got the housing for your citizens. You got to make sure you got the resources for your citizens. Bring them in, because qualified immigrants to fill in healthcare as a sector.
We're not bringing in qualified immigrants. We're bringing in refugees that are fleeing situations that are beyond their control.
And that too, definitely.
Which is a bigger part of this picture of keeping this instability going, not just in Canada, but in their own countries as well. I mean, this is where, when we take a look at, like, our little minuscule, the drop of the bucket of talking about homelessness in Canada is part of the ocean of the bigger problems that a lot of people can't see and connect. Is if these people didn't have to go and flee their own country, we wouldn't be worrying about a homeless crisis and of refugees and immigrants and people that currently live here, because now we're running out of places where to go, right?
I made a comment on the Twitter PWD advocacy, and I said, with the ego that the Conservatives have, and the fact that Pierre, I call him Skippy, decides to take such a hard shot at well, he reminds me of Skip, the little guy from Mr. Dress Up, little kid. And I had a kid in school, and we used to call him Skippy. So
that was his name.
My humor point was, let's go at the fragile ego of the Conservative Party and really push them for equal rights for people with disabilities, to the point and say, like, if you guys did this for us, because the Liberals won't, we wouldn't be homeless and living in tents. So you use the reverse psychology on the,
and you'd gain voters
on the conservatives.
I have to stop. I have to stop you there, Alun, and not to be a Debbie Downer, but here in BC, we actually had that where the and Brent, you can back me up, is that the NDP promised so much to the disabled community, saying we're going to do this, we're going to give you back your bus pass. Oops, sorry, we're going to eliminate all clawbacks. Oops, sorry, we're going to give you an increase in the welfare thing, and it's like, it was $100, but it's basically a whoops, sorry, after 7 years.
I just thought where
I'll comment to you in a second on that one, Neil.
Yeah.
I just thought, it was kind of ironic if we could give ammunition to an opposing party that wasn't tied to the Liberals like the NDP with Jadming and Trudeau, and actually give hands and bullet. Yeah, the whole my enemy of my enemy approach in a way that would work in our benefit, where we would just be giving skipping more firepower to say to Trudeau, look at those poor people on disability. You're not doing anything for them either. Well,
getting back.
I was half joking about it.
I'm just going to cut in there for a sec, Alan. I mean, getting back to what Neil was saying is when the previous government was in, of course, that's what the current government always says. When the previous government was in, this is what they did. But in reality, this is what they did, is when the previous government was in, they took away a bus pass. Okay. You paid one flat rate per year. You didn't have to make a decision. Hey, if you have the bus pass, you can use it. You don't want to use it, it's there, whatever, right? So they played this little shell game, and then, here is an increase of $77, but now we're going to take away the bus pass. Now we're going to say that bus pass is now valued at $52 a month. So hey, you can now have a bus pass, but here's a rate increase of $25. So a splashy announcement on media, $77 increase to the disabled. People are like, really? Wow. Well, here's the thing. But $52 value of that pass, and then $25 increase after a whole year. Meanwhile, your rent went up more than $25 basic percentage per year. And then what happened was the government says, what happened? Everybody dog piled onto the government and said no. So they played the little shell game. It backfired. So they said, okay, here's $52 now. So they're going to give it back 52.
Well, I mean, the real, the real problem I have here, and this is the problem I've been facing with trying to look at the solutions, is, with what they've done with the bus pass, for example, it's like, how hard is it to fix it? It's not. They don't want to. That's the truth.
But the computer system's broken, apparently.
Yeah, but there's the one for the seniors, right? You mentioned that 2 episodes ago. I do remember. Eidetic memory. So, this is where the problem is we have a government that is always, it seems like the modus operandi, it doesn't matter the party, is to continually make excuses and blame it on the previous party. Instead of saying, you know what, we'll take ownership of the previous party's stupidity and we'll correct it. We'll take the ownership of that problem. We'll correct it. Instead of taking accountability for it, they blame the other guy because they're not there to go anymore to go and go after, because that minister might have got elected out, but the party's still there. But the government is, the way our system is set up, is designed for zero accountability, and that's truly the crux of it.
Well, that's the thing, Jay, is the governments have to learn to work together on it. Like one policy, maybe a minister said, hey, this is a great idea, and then changed it. But if the party says, well, hang on, it might have been a good idea, but what's going to affect the whole broad range of the disabled community or senior citizens or low income people. So they may say, okay, overall, we're going to have to say, no, we're not going to change that. But if they did change it, work together and find, okay, why did you do that? Like, fix it. They work together. Parties need to work together. Policy.
Well, Gary, I mean, the problem I have with this whole the party system is it keeps us divided. Keeps us divided and not solving problems. And that's truly the crux of the situation, is they're designed to go and keep us hating each other. It's like if you vote NDP and I'm BC Liberal voter, we're told that we should dislike each other, not, This type of ignorance that we have been taught has created this
divide,
but at the same time, it's created indifference.
It creates a toxic environment of saying, well, if you favor that party, oh, how dare you favor that party because we're the ones who are going to make it better. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, so division is the staple of the political game. And that's where, in coming to solutions, I'm sitting here going, is it going to take a brand new political party that actually wants to solve problems? Because none of them seem to want to solve the problems. They just want to go and blame the other guy for the problems and go and throw a paltry solution at the situation.
You know what I call it? I call it, they kick the can down the road because it'll get dealt with later.
They all say that they're so different, and yet they all end up doing this. They're all like
exactly.
We're way over here and we're over here, but they all end up doing like this. And
well, and then they just fine tune it though. They just change the little wording a little bit, and then copy paste. Photocopy. There you go. Here's one for you.
Well, it's like for example, I'm deliberately going to go and do federal politics on this one. It's like you've got the liberals with the carbon tax, but then the conservatives say that we're different. Well, the difference is, the only difference is instead of you going and paying it through the carbon tax and all the rest of that stuff, you're going to have to pay your carbon usage directly out of your own pocket, right? That's the difference, right? Yep. Instead of you paying it over here, you pay it this way. So now you're personally accountable for it. So all it is just the same coin, just being turned over. That's it, right? And that's why people are starting to look at, the system that we live in versus actually going and looking at, is this party better or is that party better? They're looking at, why is the system in itself and this division not working for us anymore? And
which is why I think that vote got in again. I think they were just like, well, if I go vote, I don't go vote.
And then speaking of that, again, question period in BC is already on live right now. So they're having that back and forth debate of who knows what they're talking about. Sonia was just watching there.
Question period is in fact a pre-planned tomfoolery. Okay, the federal government, it's been stated several times, the Conservative Party sends all of their questions over that they want to go and have certain people answer, right? So when you see them get up with their quip answers, that's already been pre-written for them. This is the answer you're going to give when they come up and go yada 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 at you, and then you're going to go and give your yada 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 back at them, right? And that's what it does. It's just all this is to go and keep the substance of agitation and disharmony, and people going. So for the news clips and the media to go, ooh, so and so said this, and he had a quick response, right? And it's these bastards are LARPing. They're LARPers. Okay? That's all they're doing. They're a bunch of LARPers in there. They're not actually going and really answering questions. They're just giving paltry answers that make it look like they're answering questions. And that's where, they
should have it at the Coliseum and say, "Are you not entertained?"
Exactly. Has the has the Coliseum entertained you today? Exactly. And this is where, when it comes to the Coliseum, more and more people are actually going and taking a look at this mentality of the Coliseum, not just from government. They're starting to realize that's part of the Coliseum. Hollywood's part of the Coliseum. This is part of the Coliseum. Everything's becoming part of the Coliseum. And
was that Harry Baines?
And this is where
was that Harry Baines? Is it?
No.
Oh.
And this
I didn't quite see. Sorry.
And this is where they play these games with us as part of the Coliseum, saying, "See, we answered your question and answer period. We grilled them on it, right? For 5 seconds, you grilled them on it, but then they moved on. That's not, what I would really like our system to have is answer period, right?
Answer period, yeah.
It's like, if you take a look at the difference between our question period and Prime Minister's question time in England, it's a very stark difference. The guy actually has to give real answers. His feet is put to the fire. Here, it's a charade, right? It's a paltry charade. And that's, so when it comes to why we never get answers on homelessness, why we never get answers on housing issues, it's the same thing. It's the charade that keeps us going. I don't know. I mean, so when it comes to, this is why, to me, disability and all these problems that they've created are all part of that circus.
It's it almost seems like a theater type of
it is.
That is it, right? It's orchestrated. It's like here's your script today, and I remember MJ and went on the call here is a couple of years ago we asked the opposition, the supply and agreement. We had the Green Party in with the NDP. And we asked Andrew Weaver, who was the leader of the official opposition for the Green Party, and we asked him, well, hey, the NDP haven't mentioned anything about the bus pass, so he actually and about rates, so he actually got up and actually asked the question, and the minister hadn't even had one question during the whole session, and he asked them, and everyone started cheering, going, you haven't, they lost their bet, because I guess he thought he wasn't going to ask one question. I thought, are you kidding me? Like, wow.
It's like they had side bets, going on behind the scenes.
He says, I guess I lost the bet. Yeah.
And it's just entertainment for them rather than actually doing anything important. I wanted to get back to a very small point, because we talked about the at least two people that aren't on the call today. We have Tom and Cassandra, and they're not here for, as you said, very significant reasons of serious life events getting in the way. Like in Cassandra's case, she's homeless, and in Tom's case, he's dealing with a very significant health issue with his loved one, and you just wish that government would have more understanding of how hard it actually is. It's like they just have this legislated poverty, and it's like, oh well, it's like you'll deal with it, and it's like when you have a disability, shit gets in the way all the time, like on a daily basis. Shit gets in the way on a daily basis. And you have legislated poverty, which is the fault of the government. It's not our fault. It's the fault of the government that it's legislated poverty. They're the one that's legislating it that way on purpose, deliberately. And yet, somehow it's like it's our fault. Like I said, it's like they gaslight us all the time. The provincial government is gaslighting us. The Human Rights Commission and the Human Rights Tribunal basically gaslights me whenever I try to make a complaint and say, how dare you even try to make a complaint, because it's not even discrimination, Neil. Stupid you. All this kind of stuff. But I mean, I just wanted to make the point, like, shit gets in the way all the time. And when I was working for the Sam Sullivan Foundation, I was trying to help people find employment all the time. But like I said, all the time we had good success of some people finding employment, but on a daily basis, shit got in the way. You had carrieds that wouldn't show up because they were sick or they couldn't get into work because of car problem or something. So then the person was stuck in bed, no fault of their own. You had people that weren't eating properly because they were on, had like no money left for food in the month. And why was that? Is because of the government legislating poverty. And you have...
And then there just go to the food bank.
Yeah, and it's like, this is the government's fault, but it's the shit getting in the way. It's every day. And even if the government got out of the way and started helping, people legitimately, like, shit would still get in the way, but it gets in the way more because government is actually putting more roadblocks in the way and saying, if you want your life is shit, here's more shit, Here, your life is shit. Here's more shit. It's just like stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally. A marathon run with a go and repaint the finish line every 1,000 feet. Oh no, you thought it was at that tree, but it's only another 10.
No, it's like the guys that are holding the ribbon are running out in front of you.
Yeah.
The finish line ribbon is being run out in front of you, and you got to keep running to try to catch up to it.
And then they keep changing that ribbon further and further as they make
exactly.
And saying,
it's like that Roadrunner cartoon that the Roadrunner's painting the tunnel.
Or the carrot. No, here, you want that carrot? Here, keep following it.
See, exactly, and this is where, when I take a look at solutions, I sit here and I'm thinking to myself, how hard is it to come up with a solution to go to industry and say, look, we need a solution today. We don't need one in a week. We need it today. Here's a solution that we, has been thrown on the table. Like my idea of modularized housings. We build the skyscrapers, or not skyscrapers, they'll be low rises, and you just plunk the modules in and there you go. And you hook it all up and everything just works, right? How hard is it to do that? It's not hard. The problem is these people go, oh, well, that'd be interfering with industry. No, it's not. When you go to industry and say, look, this is the problem and we need a solution and we need all of you big boys to get on board with this, they could go and say, yeah, we could retool for that. We could retool for that,
And it could be built so fast, too.
Yeah, exactly. And if you get 20 companies doing the same exact modular buildings with the exact same layout, the exact same design all the way through, nothing changes, they could go and be pumping out new units, practically almost a new unit every other day, or one a day, at a factory, right? Or 20 a day or 10 a day. It's like, because you'd be running at conveyor belt speed of running and building these buildings. And the problem we have is we don't have a government, it seems, with the wherewithal to go and say, hey, this is a solution. Can we do it? Or let's build a solution. Let's industrialize a solution. We don't have thinkers in government, it appears, because if we did, we wouldn't be having this podcast.
Yeah, it's like words are always wonderful, right? I always remember the federal leaders always say, well, words, pretty words or nice words or whatever it is. And they do the blame game saying, well, we need housing built. Well, we got a crisis. Well, fix it. We've given them all the solutions. I mean, just for instance, and I'm going to mention about a little personal note that's just happened just recently that I found out some information, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Nothing to do with me personally. It affects me and Sonia to a point, but I'll get to that in a minute. But it comes down to, like, we come with all these solutions, and like the Canada Disability Benefit or DERB, we telling them, like, we need emergency, we need that emergency support now. There's no appetite in the federal government, but we're putting pressure on them. I noticed that the guaranteed Liveable Basic Income is making traction through the Senate right now through Kim Pate, S233.
I was actually going to bring that up. I saw it on YouTube, the appointment thing, the podcast the other day.
And so that's making traction on that. I mean, we've got, like all these solutions that we've come across the country, we've all come up with, and the government just at every level needs to listen, not to the organizations that speak for us, right? They need to talk to us, lived experience, and listen to us, bring us at the table, and listen to the lived experience stories. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. Sure, they can have the other one, the company, big corporations, fine. They can be there too if they really want to be there, but they need to listen to us, not just to them telling the government. So they need to listen to the whole broad range. But getting to, so I'm going to conclude that topic, but here's a personal note. So just recently, Sonia and I found out, and I mentioned this on the podcast, I know Neil knows about this. We have some friends that we've known for about 1.5 years now. They had moved from Winnipeg, Manitoba to Victoria. His mother lives in Victoria, which is great, right? His mother lives in my building. So we see them every so often coming by. They have a little daughter now, little cutie. Yeah, she's now learning to walk. Yeah, so that's you can imagine her hands are now full. So they got back. They had gone away on a holiday for almost a month in Winnipeg. Jeff was actually doing his rally at the time through Winnipeg, but he didn't know that they were there, and of course, he probably would have met up with them when he was doing his Legislated End Poverty tour in Western Canada. If he would have known, I would have make arrangements with him. But they told me that they had some info that they want to share with me when they got back, and I thought, okay, things were going okay, and they're like, yeah, everything's going great. They got back, and 2 days after they got back, his partner had a seizure 2 days after they got back. She didn't have a seizure at all while she was actually in Winnipeg at all. But as soon as she got back here, 2 days after she got back, she had a seizure. She probably wouldn't mind me sharing that information. That's all I'm going to really say. It's a seizure. She's okay. She's okay. So anybody listening and watching, she's okay. It's an environmental situation, what they came down to. The doctors looked into it. Diagnosis is that it was environmental. Change of the barometric pressure. So basically they had a hard time trying to tell Sonia and myself, because we got to know who they were and who they are. Wonderful people, young people, but they're wonderful people. They've got a whole chapter of life ahead of them, definitely. But the sad news, they took 9 days for them to tell us, because I hadn't heard from them. Like, I would send a message, I hadn't heard from them. So I'm thinking, I hope everything's okay. And I get a message saying, can we call you? We need to talk to you about some very important information. I said, what? And so they said, yeah, we had a hard time trying to figure this out, but his mother knew, but they're moving back to Winnipeg. They had to make a sacrifice and a decision. It wasn't just on one thing. It's also because of her health, environmental, obviously. Since she moved here, she's been having more seizures after seizures. The last one she had was a 5-minute seizure, very bad, the longest one. And so the cost of living is cheaper for her to be, and for them to be back in Winnipeg. Their friends are out there too. They're going to miss it out here because they got to know us. They're moving at the end of November. So we spent the last a couple of different days. We went over for a couple hours here and there, helping them get rid of stuff slowly. The government won't move their stuff unless they had a whole bunch. There's only a couple items that they want to keep. The government's not going to do it. So they're just going to get rid of everything that they've built up, all that money thrown down the drain. But the government's going to give them a clothing allowance, which they didn't know they could have qualified for, because the government didn't tell them that. So I said, well, let me guess. You asked, and then they finally told. Yeah. Wow. So $200 or $200 something each.
Insane.
Well, so like, what's that going to do for them? Now they got to buy all their stuff again. They can only take so much on the plane, obviously. They're going to take that stroller and stuff on and suitcases, but I feel sad for them. But what are they supposed to do? They warned us before that they were going to move, and they don't want to go, but the cost of living is cheaper there for them, the housing. Of course, their rates are a lot lower in Manitoba, but they said they're around $1,300. Now, our rates are not too much higher than theirs, and our cost of living is even higher here, right? So it was a hard call for them. They felt very sad to tell us, and I said, and I'll just say, I won't say their names just in case they're actually watching it. And I know they watch the shows, but JNS, I hear you. That's their first initials. I hear you. We're here for you. Like, always remember, like, if I can save up some money, I don't know, I'm gonna get some cheap flight going at 5:45 in the morning and fly out there. I wouldn't be going out there very often because it's too expensive, right? Because then when I pay the flight, I still got to stay somewhere. But always remember, we're always a phone call away once you do move. If we can get out there, we'll go there. Maybe next time we'll go through, it'll be through a rally. Hopefully we don't have to be doing a rally to stop the government from doing legislated poverty. And they told us to keep advocating on their behalf, and we will. GNS, we will keep advocating just because you're going to be in a new province with an NDP government. Hopefully your NDP government will actually do what's best for your for the citizens in Manitoba. I really hope so. I think it'd be better for you for sure in many ways. So I wish you great luck and great success. Yeah. So yeah, that was a hard call, right? Because people, I keep hearing they're leaving the province. Some people don't want to leave, and I don't blame them. I mean, I don't want to leave the province. I want to leave the city though here until the Lord need them.
I mean, I'm lucky. I'm living with my mom, right? Yeah. And she's currently working, and I'm looking at what my options are because in dealing with the government and dealing with part-time work, I mean, I need to get a driver's license, and they keep making it difficult because I'm disabled.
Yep.
And it's like the level of abuse that our government goes and inflicts. It's like they got to create a reason to go and hold people back.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where as I get older, the more libertarian I get, and realizing that we don't need to have the big daddy government that everyone thinks we need. We don't need you to go and sit here and be the referee for everything. We don't need you to be holding our hand for everything. We need to say, here's the handout, take it or leave it. Here you go. This is what's included in it. Here's what we got. And, we have we've got retraining. We've got the ability to go to university. It's all, you can take that money and use that to go, live in, say, student housing, while you're going and doing that or whatever, and getting your life going, or moving to a city where you can have an apartment, if you're living with somebody else, right, and go to school while they're working, and this is where all of these services that they make to go and solve problems start to get in the way, because if you're disabled and you want to go to university, you got to take a student loan, right?
Yep.
And you lose your disability. So It's like you're trapped. They trap you, right? This is a trap. And that, to me, that is a form of abuse, and that's a form of torture and cruel and unusual punishment, which the government inflicts on us with going and having to make the choice of becoming a better human being and not being on the system to trying to find something better in life, or going and staying where I'm at. And a lot of people go and find that transition that they make it very difficult to transition from one to the other is extremely abrupt and insane. So to me, this is where UBI, would solve a lot of these problems, right?
Yeah.
Would eliminate this nonsense of going, oh, you're being cut off because you're doing this. No, the UBI would still be there. You'd be able to get a loan or a student loan, or use money from your UBI to pay for college courses, right? And get a life.
Well, the government used to do the right thing. I mean, let's give them a little bit of slack, or a little bit of credit. If you go back to the late 80s and early 90s, people with disabilities used to get what was called a pension.
Pension,
okay?
yeah.
And I mean, that deserves to be said, and that deserves some credit, But why was that taken away? Pink unicorn. There you go.
Exactly.
If something was a pension, that would show respect. That would show that, like I was saying before, like when you have a disability, shit gets in the way. And if you gave people with disability a pension, it would validate the point that, yes, if you have a disability, shit gets in the way. So therefore, we're gonna give you a pension because that's what's deserved. It isn't.
Right.
It isn't charity. It isn't income of last resort. It should be a pension because shit happens when you have a disability. Shit happens. Here's a pension. Here's a deserved pension. You deserve it. Here you go.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's disability doesn't go. It doesn't go away. It's like when we talked about the bus pass. Like, it was there. Seniors have it. Seniors have a pension. They have that bus pass. Disabled people, No, you used to have it, but it's all bureaucratic, stuff that went on of saying, and you could probably dive into that, Neil. People are probably understanding, well, why did they take it away in the first place? And I know we've had this discussion.
Because they can.
Well, and Michelle Stillwell got an award. I guess they liked the fact that she took away a bus pass, so you get awards for doing that, I guess.
Yeah, and a small portion of the population in the rural area who said it was unfair, so let's change the whole system.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget that Adolf Hitler was considered Man of the Year. So even the worst people seem to get accolades in this day and age, and in the last 100 years. So when you look at our society, it's this whole thing of solving problems. It's like the government says, "Oh, well, we can only do so much." No, you could do it all if you just get out of the way, right? We don't need 50,000 freaking government employees. We don't need 250,000. We don't need 500,000 or 1 million or 2 million government employees, right? That are just there shuffling paper, right? If they're just shuffling paper, then what are they doing? Obviously, they're not doing good, because if they're not doing good, then there's something wrong. And to me, a lot of these people that work in the government would make 2 or 3 times more than in the government sector. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Alan. I just saw your message. I saw
it too. It's that vertigo thing where I'm kind of like, and I don't want to look like a goof on Zoom when it goes to YouTube. I'm starting to get a little bit wonky.
It's understandable, Alan, and you just have to.
I was in emergency for 7.5 hours, sitting in a hard plastic chair. So,
it's part of life, and unfortunately, Mother Nature has its way of playing with people in different ways, and again, like it's how things are. It's on who the person is, on things happen in life, and I've come to understand that. Like, you have no control over that, and but you always know that, like, you're here with us, and we accept you for who you are, Alan, and that's why I want the government to understand, is that you need to accept your citizens for who they are, not with what you want people to, behave. Well, this is what we're telling you. You need to do it this way. And Alan, it's hard, right? What you're going through, and I hope that you can get to.
I was hoping to do a mini what's in my bag for my camera stuff, because they had it all packed up for a show. I was supposed to go shoot in Odessa, Ontario, and it turned out that there wasn't enough room in the van to go there anyway. So, but I had my whole camera bag set up, all pretty much. I've got to come up with a shelf where I can put everything in one spot. I have these.
You need a suitcase.
Fabric, but I need a rolling suitcase that's specific for camera gear, and they're about $350 for these things. But it would they're quite large, and they would allow me to carry a lighter bag, and then roll the suitcase if I needed extra stuff. But I'll have to see whether I can swing something in the summer. But I actually have to get like a shelf or something up in this apartment.
One day you and I can be on, and we'll compare and contrast our equipment, our photography equipment. I'll bring out my lenses, and you can bring out your lenses, and I'll say mine are smaller, and you can say mine are bigger.
I actually have some hold on. I actually have 2 handy, very small lenses. I'll show those.
He's gonna get them out.
This is like show and tell.
I don't have any camera equipment. I was gonna get some, but I haven't gotten there.
With when it comes to like legislated poverty for disabled Canadians, people hear that, and when in general in the public they say, what? The myth is that people think, oh well, people with disabilities in Canada, no, they're all taken care of. I mean, they're citizens. No, we're not.
Okay.
And we're not taken care of financially. And so the fact is that there's no need to have the collective wealth the way it is right now. It's going to all the multi-billionaires, the big corporations, and it's just and like you mentioned, MJ, like it should be right there. The money should be there when you need it. You need it, you get it. Not to have to prove the reason why you need it. Like with the government, you say, well, you're not living within your means. Why do you need a crisis supplement? Why do you need a clothing supplement? Like, really?
Well, exactly. Like, I'm buying my clothes at Walmart because they're cheap, not because I want to buy clothes at Walmart, right? Yeah. I'm legislated not to be able to go and buy decent clothing. That if I want to go and buy, $100 pair of jeans, I could go do that, but I can't afford that. That is something.
And they last longer.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but when I was working at Swiss Chalet, and I wouldn't say that, I went all fanboy on buffalo jeans and stuff, but I noticed that when I started buying the more $80, $90 buffalo jeans, and I would try and buy them for winners. Don't get me wrong. If I found my size, I'd be like, oh, those are buffalo jeans. They're kind of distressed and they're $40. I can do that. But the realistic thing is, I hear so many people say, oh, well, if you're on a fixed income, you should go to Value Village the problem is that they are charging $13 to $19.
Almost same price
as Walmart. So
same price.
This shirt I'm wearing is it used to be the $5 shirt from Walmart. It's now $8, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't afford to go and get a brand name shirt made from higher quality cotton or higher quality hemp, for example. I can't afford that $50 shirt that I know is going to last me for the next 15 years or 10 years, right? Or that I could go and say, here, I've had it for 5 years. It's still, look, the neck, this is brand new. I bought this thing less than 6 months ago. The neck is already starting to give out, right? This is the quality that we're forced to go and, oh, you look poor. You look, because that's all I can afford. You've legislated me into buying the garbage. I can't afford it unless I want to skip a couple meals here.
I said to my worker, I said, you know what? I took your advice, and I went to the thrift shop, which is one of the Value Village type stores, and the prices of shirts and stuff, which is supposed to be donated, which is they're getting them for free, and they're marking them up. And the owner of Value Village is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
right.
You notice that a lot of these jeans and stuff out there now, they got all holes and they're all ripped and stuff. Maybe it's because the industry wants to make it so that it's okay, like so that people like that can't afford new clothes. I mean, pink unicorn, right? Maybe, I don't know.
I'll do a quick lens showdown. So this is
I can't see that.
But it's the blur though. You have to go more to the center.
Center, right in the center.
Center.
Put it right in front of your face.
Center it so we can see it. Yeah, there you go.
This is a 105 macro.
Oh,
2.8 lens. So it's a fixed.
Nice.
It's a fixed aperture. It's a prime lens basically, but it's made for macro photography. That's its purpose. And ideally you use it in manual mode, even though you can autofocus with it. So that's one lens.
So you said you had a small lens. Let's see your smallest one.
This is
the Nifty 50?
The Nifty 50 1.8.
There you go.
That is a Nifty 50 1.8.
Yeah. This
is a manual Nifty 50, but it's a 1.4.
Okay.
But it's a manual old film lens.
Bring it more to the center so we can see it. Bring it more to the center.
Put it in front of your face, Alun.
Put it in front of your face. Then we can see it better. Yeah. That's good.
There we go.
There you go.
That's old school.
Yeah.
Nice.
It will fit on my camera, but it's a pain in the butt to get on.
Wow, that looks pretty cool.
And this is the last of the Japanese glass. It's a 105. It's an 85 millimeter prime 1.4 lens. So it's
further over.
wide. Its widest is.
Bring it to the center again, so we can see
just
it.
a little bit further over.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And this was made in Japan. So
Oh wow!
This is a very coveted lens.
Cool.
Very coveted lens.
Awesome, Alan.
So that's what I didn't have. And the other big lens I have, which you won't be able to see on this camera, is my big 200 to 500 millimeter.
The big white one. The big white
one. The
yeah.
big one, yeah.
Yeah.
That's that thing's. I've actually used that handheld on my Z camera when I was trying to shoot the moon shots. Mm-hmm. It's actually not bad. You really should use it on a tripod.
What moon? The Earth is flat. No, just
it's it is it's a 5.6 f aperture all the way through.
Oh wow!
So it's slow, but it's not a variable. Like a lot of the kit zoom lenses that Nikon sells for APS cameras, which
those
is crop cameras, they are like f4.6 up to at the widest, and then when they get down to like zoom, it's like f.6.5. So they the long lens are much slower.
Yeah, you lose a lot of light when
but my big one is I went with the native Nikon on this, even though the third parties were had more range, but they were variable, and the one I have is a fix. So whether I'm at 200 or 500, it's still 5.6. Now it makes it slower. The other option I looked at was I have a 70 to 200 2.8, and I could throw a 2 times color converter on it, but it slows the focus down. So there's a caveat. Yes, I would, in theory, it would double me at 200 to 400, and it would be faster than that big one, but the focus would not be as quick.
See, now the big white one that you're talking about, those are the ones that they actually use to go and take pictures of when they're going and doing the space shuttle launches, where they take the pictures of it way up there. Those are the big long ones would be the ones.
Okay, I'll show. All right, I'll show you.
Yeah, he's gonna bring it out.
Alan's gonna have to turn the blur off on his video here for this.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to turn the blur off on your video.
I don't know if she'll focus or not. It's a monster.
Oh, jeez.
It is a monster, this one. And it's a pain in the butt to get the hood on. This one does not like the hood. Hold on.
You could wear that hood as pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. There it is. Okay, so.
That's what you really call him, the cameraman then.
This is a, it's got the settings, those are the settings.
Oh,
so it's got vibration control on it, which is really nice. You can lock it at a certain distance. It's got infinity on it. I'm not sure what that dial is. Actually, it doesn't show on here. But it will literally, I've got it locked. I do have it locked.
Alan describing his phone, his camera.
So I don't know if that.
Oh yeah, we can see it.
Whoa.
That's at 500. That's at 500 millimeters.
Yeah.
And it's a beast.
That's impressive. Yeah. How's your back after carrying that?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm not doing much. I'm not doing much. Ideally, I would.
All right.
That's one of those lenses that you actually mount the. You actually mount the lens to the tripod.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because the lens is that heavy.
It'll tip
right on your shoulder. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's actually with my D850, it's a bit of it's a handful. But on my D850, my DSLR, it's very. You gotta be feeling pretty like you took your Wheaties that morning to handhold it.
I was gonna say it looks like a rocket launcher, like from one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah.
Get back to the chopper.
No.
But on the mirrorless camera, which is much lighter, the mirrorless Nikon, and my Z8 is a beefy mirrorless camera. I find the balance with that lens is easier on the mirrorless camera than it is on the full camera. Like I can
autofocus that camera for me, please.
But I put that lens on the mirrorless camera and I handheld shot the moon with it. But ideally, if you're gonna do like a building that's like across the water or whatever with it, or you're going to do a moonshot from a balcony, I would use a tripod on it.
So the shot I did on the segment where I had the big building there and the people were dropping down from the coming down. That camera would have come in handy, in that one.
The only thing I've had no luck doing it, and I have. There's
a photography joke that says the photographers are so violent because they
shoot people.
They shoot you, they frame you, and then they hang you on a wall.
I want that shirt. I've seen that. Don't underestimate a photographer. We're mean. We'll shoot you, we'll frame you, then we'll hang you.
This is the other thing is, you take a look at the happiness we got here. Right? This happiness in this conversation. And, to bring it back to what we're talking about with the ability of having the government just say, take it or leave it, here's the money. This would give you the freedom to be able to explore the things that you would love to do. Exactly. Like what Alun's doing, to be able to go explore photography or explore going and singing or whatever, or doing art or whatever it would be, would allow you to explore, becoming a better human being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you this: if I won the lottery,
I know you'd be spending $1 million in camera equipment.
No. Well, yeah. I'd be calling people, going, "I got a problem. Is there a meeting for this?"
Well, MJ's made a good point though with that, Alun, because you could explore so many more options with your interest with your camera, with your gear. You could travel across the country, take a photography shoot of different sites and people,
I'd re-get my passport and that thing would be stamped so bad it wouldn't be.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah,
the options
exactly. You could take a week and go to here and take pictures and you could go and take a couple of weeks, as it were, save up, go across, go to another country and just start taking photos, or you could explore the world. I mean, the ability to go, the problem we have is when the government goes and designs a system to keep you so limited and keep you down, I mean, I shared a while back on Twitter about when they went and actually handed out money to people and actually did these programs, people's depression went down. Now, here's something to think about. For a lot of people that are depressed, because they're in such legislated poverty, they're ending up in a situation where they're so depressed they're taking this medication that's covered by the government, that's being paid to these pharmaceutical companies. And if they actually had a little bit extra money, if they had that money, they'd be a lot less depressed because they have a lot less stress and a lot less worry. They wouldn't have as much worry.
The healthcare system,
and it would increase with increasing their happiness and lowering their stress. The healthcare system would see up to 25% decrease of people going into into the hospital or into emergency rooms or dealing with healthcare crises of depression and suicidal attempts because their lives would be a lot better. And, one of the things that I talk about with my idea is this could be used also to go and deal with the Divorce Act, where people go and file for divorce. The UBI for the children would go with the person that has the custody. Problem solved, right? There would be no more spousal support. It would also, derivatively, help out men from losing their driver's licenses, because this is what they like to do with people that get behind on their child support and spousal support, is they take your driver's license away, making things even more difficult. This is a level of lunacy that we currently have.
It's a punitive platform.
Exactly. It's the lunacy that we have in our system that is legislated into our system can easily be legislated back out. And that's where
it changed. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and this is where
so many changes that can easily be done. Yeah.
I wanted to. I've gone through all of our podcasts recently, and I added some more keywords to some of them and stuff. So I've actually gone through and rewatched all of them again, and it's kind of been nice because I've kind of gone through some of the topics we covered, and one of them we touched on in one of the earlier ones was we talked about throwing a stone in a pond and having
I didn't tell that joke in episode 19, by the way.
And if we just take this one call of the four of us, you are a stone, Brent, I'm a stone, MJ's a stone, Alun's a stone, and we're all throwing our stone in the pond, and we're all creating a ripple, and the government doesn't acknowledge that, and I think that's sad because they only acknowledge how much money are you earning at a job that you can pay taxes. They're not they're not accounting for that ripple that we're I'm creating a ripple, you're creating a ripple, MJ's creating a ripple. Alun's creating a ripple. We're all creating that ripple, and we're making a difference. And the government's like, so what? It doesn't matter. And
they don't realize they throw a boulder in this pond, and the ripple effect of their boulder is an effect on our lives is even worse.
Well, it clears out all the water out of the pond. Eventually, it becomes like a.
I think that's just sad. We've lost sight of the. I've talked about human rights tribunals. The problem with human rights tribunals is they've lost sight of the fact that human should be at the center of it. If you take human out of human rights, what do you got? Nothing. Right?
Exactly.
So
I would just like to say that I didn't tell that joke in episode 62. I don't know what it was. It wasn't me.
No, it was. I think I was the one that said it.
You're right. So, and going back to what you're saying, Neil, is my idea with this UBI that I propose is the ripple effects. Is you solve the problem with people that are on welfare or disability. You have solved the problem with people that are having to go and make a choice to be single versus going and finding a relationship. Because of the disability rules and how to go and put you out. Or where, it goes and father loses his job, then he loses his license, then he becomes homeless, then decides to end his life because of the circumstances of events. He just says enough. He has enough. He ends his life. And I've heard stories about this time and again where
it's getting worse.
It's getting worse. And this is where my idea of the ripple effect is like you got government saying for people to get injured on the job, oh, you're well enough to go back to work, but they're not. And then they go, well, we'll just cut you off of WCB. Oh, because, the ripple effects of the action of the government.
You're not serving the wealthy.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the mentality is when a guy gets injured at work and he's being a construction guy or a plumber or whatever, and he's on leave because he hurt his back or whatever, and they get to a certain point and they go, you know what? You're not out there digging ditches, and we're not making money because you're not out there digging ditches, so we're going to penalize you for it. Or
I remember a time, Alan, on the WCB. I had gone through rehabilitation through WCB, chiropractic treatment, physiotherapy, and of course, no doctor that I even seen. Like, I mean, I had to see a doctor, through the treatment, ongoing, and of course, behind the scenes, well, they made a decision saying, oh, well, you're fine enough now to go back to your previous employer. I go, well, who said that? And the doctor says, oh, well, it's the WCB doctors. Well, they're not seeing me. Well, no, they're going with the information. I go, well, they're not me. They don't know the pain I'm going through. And I said, so I'm not ready to go back. Well, they basically going to sign off on you to go back. I said, my gosh, like, this system is so messed up.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes again with what we're saying is that you give people, like, it's all that red tape, all that bureaucratic red tape, right? So you just give people like I love like what you mentioned, MG, because it's like you give people the money, they can make that decision what they want. You need it, it's there. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But I guess the one thing that I'd like to dive into here on a roundtable, and if we have a little bit more time, if that will continue on our next session, is the medical part. Like, so that if you give people the, all the income that they need, and they get it when they need it, and then the medical, they can still access that. I think that would be part of what people might be kind of wondering about too, as well. So if I get a concrete UBI, what about my medical? Because right now, I think a lot of disabled people too are probably in that fear of thinking, I love this idea, but right now they're protected because their medical is covered under the provincial designation, and the fear of maybe
in my idea, I mean, what I was thinking was there would be a national health insurance, right, program. You pay maybe $50 or $100 or whatever it is, right, and that would go towards, like, here's your card, you can go and get your pills, you can go and get whatever you need. If you need a CPAP machine, these things are covered, right? Instead of going, I mean, the biggest problem we have is that's one option. The other option is using Section 9111 and militarize the healthcare system, because it's actually legal in our Constitution Act of 1867, is the federal government comes in and says, you guys are failing so bad, we're going to just do this. Right? Because the problem we have is, as Pierre Poilievre has pointed out, there's like 20,000 people here that have healthcare experience in this country that have been, pardon my French, fucked around by the licensing boards in 13 jurisdictions, right? The problem we have is these people, they don't meet our standards. Well, then let's get them in as, a journeyman apprentice nurse or something in the system. So, let's start out.
Yes.
Right. Let's start them out here. They got the qualifications for this job, but let's get them in the system, and then let's get them trained and upgraded so they can get into the job they have truly trained for in our system.
Because there's so many other countries that come here and they're qualified. I give you a quick example. I got these glasses, and you'll notice the fiasco I went through with that one. A new look optometry. I got these ones. There was a doctor that was there, and in her country, she was a doctor. But in Canada, she can't practice as a doctor because all the red tape, bureaucratic garbage. She's still waiting so that she could actually be an optician, right? Mm-hmm. A specialist, and she specializes in my condition. But she was only there as a general manager employee. But she knew her stuff, like she did measurements, this and that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, amazing. So getting back to make sure they're certified so they can provide the expertise service in this country.
Exactly.
One of the things that really frustrates me, especially about ODSP when it comes to mental health, is to get a therapist, even pay for a therapist, is out of pocket, but you can do it by Zoom. Now, that might be good, but a lot of people, if they're going to get their mental health done so they don't end up taking MAID or they start heading in the right direction, it's about $360 a month. just to see a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So do you eat or do you or do you pay rent or do you go to pay
Exactly.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to sacrifice your health.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's a real problem.
I'm sorry, but these Zoom half an hour with your therapist, you do not feel the connection. You're talking to someone that's being paid to sit there on Zoom and go, come on, buddy, you got to stay on planet Earth, like we'll talk about it next week,
Well, that's
you're going
it's always let's come back to this next week and schedule another appointment, right?
Well,
it's not about never solving problems.
That's like a dietitian saying, well, you need to eat healthy, you need to take this supplement, you need to do this, you need to do that, or a family doctor, your iron level is a little low, so you need to have this and all these expensive items. Well, I'm sorry, like under whose budget is that under? Where do I cut back? Do I cut back?
We can start wrapping up now, Brent, because we're getting close to the time.
So I'll go with our ending comments. Actually, I'll start with you, MJ, and then I'll go over to Ellen, and then I'll do my ending comments and then over to Neil.
I just want to say that when it comes to the solutions, it doesn't take a leap in logic to go and have a solution that would benefit everybody equally. It just takes that willingness to go the distance and say, you know what, let's stop kicking the can. And in a system designed to play politics, that's all they want to do. So when you sit here and you take a look at why they do this, it even gives you more, it just heartens you even more. When the solutions are just so simple that we could say, with my idea, here's $4,000, you could pay for extra insurance for, say, from Blue Cross even, I think it's $50, $75, right? And you'd be covered for all the things that you need to be covered for, right? If you could afford that insurance, you would pay for that insurance, right? Right? And that's the real trick is... And
TELUS is now in the private health sector. You can actually buy healthcare coverage from TELUS. Like, thanks.
Exactly. And this is where, when it comes to, all of these things that they suggest, oh, let's do this, let's do that. How about you just give us the money and let us figure it out? Because for the most part, most of us out here in this world, we're not stupid people. We're very smart people once we go and say, okay, now I have this opportunity. I have, say, here's $4,000 a month. Okay, I can pay my rent. I can go and buy some real meat. I can go and buy some real vegetables. I don't have to go to the canned garbage, and I don't need to buy junk food. I can have a real healthy meal. Or I can go and buy some quality clothing that's going to last me for more than 6 months. It's going to not bend out of shape like this shirt that I'm wearing, as an example. And this is where we would be seeing our money and our value being extended, because people would go and make choices they could actually afford to make and solving their own problems. Instead of buying a rice box beater that burns gas and oil at the same time, they could afford to buy a little bit better vehicle that would get them better mileage and get them better, better stability in this. Or they'd be able to get a roof over their head in a place that's not filled with crackheads and junkies and other people of that
and
sort.
Mold.
And mold, exactly.
Right.
And mold is the biggest thing that people aren't talking about in rental housing market. And that's the other problem, is we're sitting here dealing with these continued issues that aren't being addressed. And we have governments that would rather go and sit here and play this game of, it's Justin Trudeau's fault for all of this. Pierre Poilievre goes and plays this shouting match of going and blaming the other guy and saying, here's how I'm going to solve a problem. We, play these games. We're tired. We're all burnt out. And it's not just us four. It's the other 40 million people that aren't here in Canada that are tired as well. And these games need to stop.
Yeah, or you have these side bets with Nicholas Simons. So I wonder when he's going to get to ask a question or answer a question. It's like, oh, stupid. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there so we can move on.
Thank you very much on that, MJ. And next week we'll continue on where we left off on that. over to you, Alun. Any comments for the session?
I think I just wanted to say it's fun being here. And definitely on the same page with MJ there. One of the things I've been noticing in the private healthcare system that I want to see change is the fact that everybody's making an opportunity on the side hustle of you want to make your health better. You want to stop your diabetes. There's a cure. There's a cure. Go to this link. And that has become a real cesspool. And it's something I'd like to talk about in the next one is how do we get to this point where this false hope is like this little flag being, everybody's like, well, they dangle the carrot, but what's the real issue is what's the stick? It's not what we all know what the carrot is, a better financial outcome, but what's the stick really?
Right.
The stick is what the price we're going to pay for that outcome.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Onel. And
I'm gonna do my what's his name there, Blofeld impression here.
Yeah.
Cat wants to join the party. You can get that.
I'll make Neil to make a little note of that for the next session. We'll say diabetes. Just that maybe it might even get people's interest. They'll be like, oh wow, more people might tune in to watch the segment, and then they may want to come on to the show and talk about that too. And
it's all sorts of things, right? Like I see on social media all the time. You want to get rid of all those medications and stop taking this stuff that's making you feel tired and sleepy, blah 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 blah. Go to my link and
right.
I will give you 5 things that you can take instead. And you're going, or they'll go like, these are the recipes I came up with, and I figured out if I bought this stuff, I could mix it home, and I would take one glass of this a day.
See, the worst part, Ellen, is the medical disinformation and the health information is coming from all sides, including our own government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest part.
Yeah.
My doctor would never give me a straight answer about something. I was like, I've got this issue. You can give me medications, but what if I don't? What if I have a hard time taking pills? Why can't I just go and get something like a supplement that just does it naturally?
Right. Because
right.
And they won't give it. They won't tell me. I'm like, what are you in the pocket of pharmacare? Like,
yes,
well,
yes, they are.
Yes, they are actually.
No, that
They
can't
are.
be it.
Of course. I mean,
So I'm gonna
another day.
I'm gonna put my ending comments in for the session too, and then I'll pass it to Neil. As an overview, I want to thank everyone on today for today's session. It was really wonderful as usual. It's always great. It's always good, and everyone tuning in today. As an overview, just to kind of summarize through the disability community across Canada, I want people to know that we're going to keep advocating for the people who maybe they're scared about speaking up. They're scared about maybe worrying that their voice is not being heard, they're not going to be heard. They are. You are heard. And I want you to know that we echo everything that you say, and then what your thoughts when you type them on Twitter or X. Elon wants to call it X, I call it Twitter, or whatever. But know that we're here. Like we're here. Like we're going to keep advocating. I mean, us and many, and not just us. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, million of us advocate in our own way. Millions. That's right, with an M. And we advocate, all of us, in our own way. And there's no certain way that people shouldn't be advocating. They advocate in different ways that they want. They talk to their parents. They talk to their neighbors, their the caregivers, whoever it may be, the doctors, their nurses, and they will speak on your behalf if you can't. If you feel that your voice is not being shared, I want you to talk to your MLAs. I want you to talk to your MPPs. MLAs, everybody, your city hall. Go and talk to your mayor. If you feel that maybe your voice is not being heard at a provincial level, talk to your mayor. Let your mayor know. Let your city council know what's going on in your life, what affects you. Like, is it local transportation that is not accessible enough? Because it starts on that point and it goes all the way up to provincial level and up to federal level, because federally regulated transportation needs to happen. And that's something that on the shows ahead, I'm not sure if it'll be next show or what, but we'll be talking about transportation for sure, because it's so important about having the funds to use that transportation. And that's what it's all interconnected with. I want to see Canadians with disabilities in Canada to be able to move freely amongst provinces without any barriers in place of having a hall pass, as I call it. And then Neil is like, can I pretty well, please? Can I go to the washroom? Brent, you know what? Go. Don't tell me about your problems. Go.
You're asking too much, Brent.
Yeah, you're asking too much. I need 30 days. 30 days to go to the washroom. Well, damn it. Just go. You want to be away for 6 months? You want to be away for a year? You're always going to have that income. Seniors can do it. And I guess my point is that seniors, they can go where they want in the country. Why can't disabled people go in the country where they want? Maybe they need to go away to go and look after a loved one. Maybe they have a relative that's in another province. They need to go and take care of somebody. Maybe they want to go there for work opportunities. Maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe they're self-employed and maybe they want to do advocacy in another province for a period of time. Or maybe they want to be, like Alun has mentioned, they want to go and do some photography across the country. MJ, like you mentioned some awesome ideas too. Like just give people the money. Let people have what they need. You need money, go and get it. It is there if you need it. I mean, travel freely around the country, around the world. We're all human beings. I want the government to understand that. Like, it doesn't have to be the way that you want it to be. Like, is it the gatekeepers that are stopping you from doing what you want to? You're advocating. You got some amazing MLAs, amazing any government employee. They're all amazing people. Is it? I don't know. Is it the stakeholders, the gatekeepers that are telling you all those, are telling you not to do something? I know, and I'm not going to point names here. I'm not doing the blame game of government versus government. I want you all to work together.
Next week. Next week.
Yeah, that's next week. But I want you to work together, and we're going to be talking about this next week on the topic because it's so important. And I've learned this advocating going forward, and I'm not going to say who told me, but it's about pointing government. A government official told me that rather than blaming previous government, this and that, work together. And it's like the PWD community. We're all working together in our own way. And I want the government to start listening to disabled citizens because we should be able to have the quality of life and dignity, the autonomy to make the decisions that are based on what's good for us. Because the policies, and it stems down to just policies within government that needs to be changed. Give people enough income that they can make these decisions, what they need is best for them. Their housing situations, is it housing affordability? Well, we'll be diving into a lot of these things next week and the weeks after. I welcome anyone to send in their comments. You want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to Neil Matheson, and Neil, he'll provide you with the contact information. I want you to subscribe if you want to keep up to date. I encourage you to please keep up to date on the shows. If you find this very interesting and you say, wow, hey, I'd love to be a guest on the show, reach out to Neil, reach out to myself. You can reach out to me at weatherman.langley@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter. I'm still currently on Twitter. Elon likes to call it X. I call it Twitter. I will retweet stuff. Oh, he calls it repost or whatever it is. Yeah, I just retweet. I'm on there because of for advocacy for myself and also for other people, bringing awareness. I advertise out the show stuff on there. So when I know who's coming up, Neil will send me the blurb. I'll put it out there for everybody. You can find me on Facebook. I do check my messages on Messenger. not all the time, but I do check them usually once or twice a day. So please reach out to me. You'll find me on your favorite podcast. Definitely, there's a lot of opportunity. Be a guest on the show. Talk about lived experience. If you know a family member who is wants their voices to be heard, please reach out. Same thing. Let's all get in this together, right? Let's all make Canada a better place, because it can be. It was. Let's turn it around. Let's make it even better. Better together.
Make Canada great again.
Yes, right. Make Canada great again, and autonomy for all. So over to you, Neil.
I was just gonna say that even though you have a nice pink unicorn by your head there, pink unicorns are not real. Let me repeat that. Pink unicorns are not real. So why are they allowed to roam free?
This is a bag. I mean, this is a make-believe thing. This is just a bag.
Yes. Why are they allowed to roam free in our provincial government? I don't know, because they're not real. And
you know where I got this from? I got this from the people that are moving from BC. They're going to be moving to Winnipeg. And I said, Sonia saw this the other day and said, "Can I have this bag?" And they're like, "Sure, why?" And Bill, I said, because, I said, because the government feels that policies based on one situation should be like a pink unicorn.
Do you see that we have Joseph coming on the show right when we're about to leave?
Yeah.
But
you know, that's just because I work night shifts.
Oh, yeah, we were just about to.
I just woke up.
But did you have any last words, Joseph?
Oh, I don't know. I just got here.
Joseph.
Hello, everybody. Sorry for missing the show.
Okay, well, you can tune in next week or come on next week, and you can have your your.
This time I'll set an alarm.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, 3:45 your time next Monday, Joseph, and we have a upcoming show special segment. I guess we should say, Neil, before we end the show.
It's gonna be Dan is gonna be broadcasting live. I don't know. Should we even give it away? Maybe we won't give it away. We'll just say he'll be broadcasting from a very interesting location.
Yeah.
And so we'll let your imaginations roam wild, but it'll be a fun one.
That's a good way of them saying subscribe. I mean, once you hit subscribe, and you're just gonna get the link automatically. It's gonna pop up, and then you just click on it. You don't have to do nothing else. Just watch it. Send in your comments to us, and Dan will be broadcasting live. You might want to send that link over to Dan, just in case.
I'll send it again. I did send it, but I'll resend it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a glitch of a link or something. I had to send the link today,
okay.
Happened.
I'll make sure he gets it again.
Yeah, or you can send it to me and I'll send it over to him, whichever. But,
yeah.
So I want everyone just to tune in on that. That's Saturday morning. I don't know if I think Alun, have you ever mentioned that you might want to do a segment this Thursday?
I think so. Get in touch with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could do a short segment this Thursday. I have this Saturday. It's actually interesting because there's going to be Dan's coming on very early in the morning, our time.
About 9 o'clock or so, roughly.
Yeah. 8:30.
That's Pacific time.
Staying up watching horror movies there, Brent.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be a great segment. 8:30 or 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I think it'd be about maybe an hour or 2 hours.
Only about an hour, I think.
Then after that, I have to go and get in BC. I got booked. I got the invitation. I got invitation to go and get my COVID booster shot and my flu shot. For me. I could tell people I used to be scared about getting those kind of shots. I'd be petrified. I remember when I was a kid lining up in the gymnasium, and I go, no, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, go ahead. No, now I should get the flu shot. Reason why is because Sonia is immune compromised, and that she already got her shot. She got the first invitation when it came out because of her condition, and I had to get my booking done on it, and it took me 3 hours and 42 minutes on hold one day when they launched it, and I had no option of callback service. 3 hours and 42 minutes. So I'm thinking I'm in queue. All of a sudden, I get a recording. Thank you for calling. Unfortunately, our queue system is fully booked up. Please try a call again tomorrow during regular business hours. Thank you for calling. Goodbye. 3 hours and 42 minutes on hold, and then I get a recording. Oh, wow. I called the next day, an hour and 20 minutes, and then somebody answered. And so, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I go, hey, that was fast. How long were you waiting? Hour and 20 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I go, that's nothing compared to 3 hours and 42 minutes, and the system hung up on me. Oh my gosh. So I got in, and they said, well, what can I help you with? And I said, well, I just need to change my phone number. I just need to update, because what I was told from your other department, which I didn't know, in BC, there's 3 departments, one for MSP, one for your care card, and one for immunization. And guess what, folks? They don't communicate with each other. The government was helpful. The lady I spoke with was extremely helpful. And if you're watching this, ma'am, whoever you are, thank you. Like, she helped me with my care card and my MSP all at once. She changed it in the system, my phone number, make sure that they had the current address on file, no problem. And I was told that I need to now contact immunization department to do the same thing, because they won't do that. They may send an email message or a text, or either or. Whoever sends the invitation out, if they try a text and they don't choose the email option, I would not have got an invitation to get booked. Because now the stores right now, the drugstores are taking walk-ins that I've come across anyway, and they're booking up. I got a drugstore right across the road from here right now. I can't even go in there and say, like, I've got an appointment now set, but I can't go in there and say, can I just go get the shot? Sorry, you need to have an appointment. And they had one spot in November available. And when I was on the phone with the immunization department, she said, well, it was for a Monday. It was for a Monday. And I said, oh no, Monday doesn't work. 1 o'clock. I said, well, that'd be kind of hard to do that, because I actually have a round table on Monday. And that was for this Monday.
Oh, okay.
But they have one in November also. I said, no, that won't work. Well, yeah, that's the only thing we have. So I said, okay. I have found one further down in Victoria. So I got that booked for Saturday in the afternoon, which is good. But when I was on the phone, I said, can you check again for where I live? Yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, nothing till December now. That's how quick they are booking up.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go down to the one further down. It's like a 23-minute bus ride to where I got to go. But it's okay. I'll get it done. Sonia's mom's going to be coming over for a visit.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting. But she'll get to hear our roundtable next Monday.
There you go.
She might even tune in. She might just say, hi, everyone. Yeah, but we'll see. So that's my agenda. Saturday's going to be a busy one. But anyway, everyone just...
So tomorrow...
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Brent, is the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty.
I wonder if it will happen.
As well as also it is the day that the Senate of Canada investigates guaranteed livable basic income.
Yay! Yeah,
tomorrow, 11:30
right?
Hey Joseph, what was your take on the? Did you see the appointment with Kim Pei? It's on YouTube, I think. It's like a podcast that she was hosting.
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, if I'll click on it on my iPad and I'll send it to you on Twitter.
Please, thanks.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's her and a young undergraduate who did social work, and she was she was following along with a whole bunch of stuff. So she was co-hosting with Kim Pate, but it looked like it was Kim Pate's podcast. It's called Appointment, I think. But I'll find it for you. I'll send it to you.
Well, I look forward to poverty being gone tomorrow, Joseph.
Yeah.
I see here that there's a new lead researcher involved in, like, the lead researcher for New Leaf Cash Transfer Project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that.
Going to be from the University of British Columbia is going to be there. Dr. Jiang.
Yeah, I saw that.
I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
So, and also former Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne is supposed to be there, who was the Premier of Ontario when GLBI pilot actually was launched in Ontario.
Right, that's the one that Doug Ford took away.
Honestly, I've seen her news publication, like I've seen her news reports and stuff on GLBI. She doesn't even know what it's about, really. She just knows the headline points. Like, she's never gotten into the details. She's never sat there and debated somebody and said, this is what actually happens when this happens. You've seen a little bit of debate from Leah. You've seen a little bit of debate from Kim, thanks to us.
Yeah.
Right? Informing her, like the community informing them. But you don't see these politicians with any kind of, like, I miss the good old politics where you actually debated the points of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not just, he said, she said across the aisle.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that with Canadian politics. Honestly, the best thing that a politician could ever do in Canada is get rid of the banter in the House of Commons that goes back and forth. If you sit there and you ask a question on something like, what was the interest paid on the national debt this year? And you ask them and they deflect. You ask them a second time, they deflect. Then stop. Don't have every single member of your party ask over and over and over again until the point gets drilled down so much that the public goes, I really don't care anymore.
They just say, the part I like the most in BC, where when they debate these some of these new basically some new legislation that comes in, like a lot of the MLAs, they'll have statements and they have a member's time where they can actually talk about it, or they do a first reading of stuff too. It can get very interesting, especially when they start talking about lived experience stories. I remember when they were going through their budget stuff and they were talking about stuff of, like, in their constituency of people having to make difficult choices and stuff. And I thought, wow, like, now they're talking about real people, not just at each other, and I wish they do a lot more of that across the board on so many other issues, because like you're right, Joseph.
Yeah, well, like MJ was saying earlier in the call, is like they need to change question period to answer period, and then stuff would actually get done.
Yeah. So before we end the segment, Alun, since I got you on right now, why don't we say Thursday? Does 12:45 work good for an hour?
Sorry, what time?
I mean 12:45 our time, so that's 3:45 your time. For an hour. Okay, good. And Joseph, did you want to do just a short segment at all on Friday?
On Friday?
Yeah.
What time? Same time?
We could do it at, I guess, Neil, is that good? At 12? It'd be 3:45. Yeah, same time, 3:45 till
time, sure.
3:45 till 4:45.
What do you think there, Neil?
That's fine for me. Yeah.
Good for me.
Sure.
So Thursday, Friday, we're going to do
Thursday, Friday, and that sounds good.
Okay.
And then look, you're going to be busy Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, because I'm sure you're going to be doing your little vlog while you're going to get your shot on Saturday.
Well, we have Dan on Saturday too, so it'll be
we've got Dan
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, we go Thursday, Friday, happy day.
That's right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Anyway, we got to get out of here. I'm gonna bring the cane out. I'm gonna bring
time to pull the reins out. No carrot there, everybody.
Look at that. I show up late and then you fish me into a whole show. Look at that, Brent.
Yeah. Then we make it to a whole brand new show.
Yeah.
But the spotlight will be on you on Friday, and Thursday we'll go back in time to Alun. Thursday, same time, same place.
Well, hopefully Friday I'll have more news on DERB.ca and what direction we're going forward now that the two main petitions are closed, and the only one that's running right now is the Pneumo Media one for a rise. But I am looking. I'm waiting. I challenge any Canadian to go ahead and start a new DERB petition. I'll be on that right away.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the any updates, or then we can talk. If there's no updates, we'll talk about exactly what's going on with that too. Sounds good. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today to another great episode of the Roundtable on Canadians with Disabilities and their Allies. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're tuning in, and today you're watching it, flipping through, saying, hey, I came across this channel. This is neat. Subscribe to Neil Matheson's YouTube channel here. Stay up to date on the show. You want to be a guest on the show? Reach out to myself at weatherman.langley@gmail.com, or to Neil, and he'll read out his email to you.
My email is neiljm.nm@gmail.com, or you can find all the information on the podcast on one of the tabs on my website at www.daddybentlegs.com. And I do encourage people to look over there, and there's an option on the media tab to do you want to be a guest? They can send an email that way, or send an email directly to me through my Gmail. Either way, but yeah, there's lots of good stuff.
Definitely.
We're both very easy to find now. I mean, even if, like I've always said, even if Twitter blows up tomorrow, you and I are both very easy to find. All anybody has to do is
Elon.
All anybody has to do is type in PWD Allies podcast, or even PW podcast, and you are literally all over Google. If you just type in PWD podcast, you're all over Google.
Now I gotta call my agent. Damn,
it's very easy to find both. You,
you just
both
punch
you
in
and myself.
on Google there.
He's gonna be pissed now.
Anyway, we gotta.
And on the show, it's not all about pink. It's not about pink unicorns. It's about getting rid of pink unicorns.
I'll have my agent going, why didn't you tell your people to call my people when I should call your people?
That's right.
I need to call my agent, Neil, because this, you know what? I just pulled out Google and I just typed in PWD space podcast. And every single result on the first page was you.
See?
There wasn't, some ad. There wasn't some,
nice
website for porn or
who's the best
some download link.
Who's the best editor producer in the world? Who's the most humble?
Right,
who's the most humble editor producer in the world?
Neil Matheson.
And on that note,
thanks everyone for tuning in today.
So actually, it's not Google; it's Yahoo.
Oh, Yahoo. Okay, there you go.
Oh, Yahoo too.
Yeah.
My dad used to call people Yahoos. That was his word. Yeah, Yahoo almost hit my boat.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.